Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Weaver will serve as chaplain of the day. Representative Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. It's one of my favorite things to do is to pause and have a word of prayer and thank God for his help and assistance. Psalms chapter 46 speaks of exactly that, where the psalmist requests, and he says, you know, Lord, you're my help and you're my refuge in times of trouble. And our world is turbulent. Things are fired up. There's all kinds of things going on across the pond in other countries, in our country, and even sometimes here in the hallways of the Cordell Hall, because it's been one of those kind of weeks. Agreed? So let's pause and let's pray and thank God that he is an ever-present help in times of trouble. Father, we so acknowledge you at this moment. We're grateful to you that we can call upon your name and you give us assistance, you give us guidance, insight, knowledge, and you tell us when we've messed up. And I thank you that you're a forgiving Father, you're a merciful Father, and so gracious. We ask you to forgive us of our tempers, to forgive us of our insults, and help us, Father, to be more like your Son, Jesus, that we be a representative of not only those in our districts, but most importantly, that we represent the kingdom of God. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Let's say our pledge. Stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Breaking here. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 95 members present.
Let the journal reflect that Representatives White, Carr, and Griffey are excused. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming and honoring.
Welcome and honoring anyone seeking recognition. Representative Hall, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that the Sergeant of Arms escort our guest into the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant of Arms, please escort the guests to the well, please. Representative Hall, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I request that the clerk read the resolution.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Joint Resolution 716 by Representative Hall, resolution to honor and commend K-9 Joker for his service. Whereas we are pleased to recognize those dedicated K-9 officers whose ability in the field undoubtedly enhances the safety and security of those in this state. And whereas one such officer is the Bradley County Police K-9 Joker of the Cleveland Police Department, partner and friend to Deputy Eduardo Choke, and whereas K-9 Joker was shot multiple times while attempting to apprehend suspects in the thick woods after responding to an auto burglary at an apartment complex, his extensive injuries included the dislocation of his jaw from a straight shot to his face. And whereas after 9 days of intensive care at the Animal Emergency and Specialty Center in Chattanooga, K9 Joker was released from the hospital with a prescription for 12 weeks of rest, a muzzle, and a feeding tube. And whereas on December 22nd, 2021, K9 Joker returned to his post, his first act back on the job was tracking down 3 suspects in the same woods in which he was shot. And whereas K9 Joker is a beloved member of Bradley County who is strong and willing to serve and protect the constituents of the county with honor and pride, he and each police service animal are remarkable assets to the communities they serve and especially to the law enforcement officers they protect. And it is fitting that we honor him now. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we honor K9 Officer Joker for his laudable service to the Cleveland Police Department, Bradley County, and the people of this great state.
Representative Hall, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how many state legislators have actually been to Cleveland and Bradley County, but I've got to caution you. If you come to Cleveland, you're going to love us. You're going to love our city. You're going to love our county, and you're going to love the beautiful people of our county. It's a place where gosh is still a bad word. It's where mothers and grandmothers are sacred. And we've never stopped saying Merry Christmas. But even during the best of times, adversity and tragedy finds us all. And under the cover of darkness and the commission of a crime, our law enforcement K9 Joker and Officer Schultz were ambushed. And after being wounded multiple times, blood transfusion, feeding tube, portion of the jaw missing, on his first day back, he apprehended 3 suspects. An attack on law enforcement is an attack on us all. And this isn't just feel-good preaching. And this isn't just a comeback story. This is who we are as a state. We are unified, we are galvanized, and we are resilient. Mr. Speaker, if I may, to allow Sheriff Lawson to say a few words, sir.
Sheriff, you're recognized.
Thank you all for having us here today. Thanks for the resolution and proclamation. And let me say this, and I won't be but just a second. We are blessed in Bradley County. We are blessed with good people. I am blessed to lead the sheriff's office. In that September morning of last year, when I got the call around 2:30 a.m., and I was up and on the way there, I was listening to the radio traffic. I didn't think it was going to be good in the end. And as we went through the situation and donations started coming in for Joker, who is probably more popular in Bradley County than I, then we started being blessed, and we still didn't know where we was going until one day, Eduardo kind of texted me and said, guess what? You won't believe it, but they took the feeding tube out and they got him eating soft food. From that day forward, no matter what Joker was, we at the sheriff's office was going to take care of him because he was one of us. I will say he's probably our lead K9, and we have a total of 6, but he has caught more criminals than most of my detectives. And I hope they're not watching, but he's really good. But that's just, I'm just funning there, really. But he is, we're blessed. We're blessed to have him in our agency. We're blessed with Officer Schultz. The training is as good as the dog. They got to have that communication. He is family, and I've seen that family come together, and I am blessed to serve as sheriff, and I'm blessed you to have us here. I'm blessed with Representative Dan Howell and Mark Hall. I couldn't ask for any better for somebody to talk to. Thank you very much.
Representative Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if you noticed, but as soon as Joker came through the door, he went on alert and he was checking every one of your desks for contraband. He's really a good officer. He really is. Joker has become a folk hero in Bradley County and Cleveland. We're so proud of him, proud of the job that Officer Schultz does, proud of our entire Sheriff's Department and all law enforcement in Cleveland, Bradley County, and it's an honor to have them on the floor today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Hall.
Mr. Speaker, could you join us in the well for a photo op, please?
Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
This is by request. Thank you. And just understand this is an important occasion. And I want to make sure that I'm heard clearly, as clearly in my words as the actions and deeds of the group that we're about to honor, as they were then and as their legacy is now. Mr. Speaker, if you would have the Sergeant at Arms escort our guests into the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant of Arms, escort the guests to the well, please. Representative Hardaway, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as you can see, we have more than one guest of honor. And, you know, this is one of those moments where I'm so grateful for when I was born, so grateful for who I was born to. Willis Lincoln Hardaway Sr., now Minnie West Hardaway, educators. I started school back in the 60s, in 64. My first integrated class in 64 was sixth grade. However, that was 3 years after the Memphis City Schools, which is now Shelby County Schools, Legacy Memphis City Schools, was desegregated. 13 young people, 13 tiny feet, small hands, but big hearts, full of courage, walked into Memphis City Schools for the first time to sit with white children. 1961. Well after 7 years after Brown versus Board of Education. So it's not merely about what the court says, it's about what the people do. We know from our work on the Hill that it's not about merely the head, but the heart. We don't feel good about what we do up here in terms of policy until we feel it in the heart. And that's it in all of our endeavors. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask that the clerk would read the resolution.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Joint Resolution 1 of the Third Extraordinary Session by Representative Hardaway and others. A resolution to honor and commend the Memphis 13. Whereas on May 17, 1954, the United States Supreme Court unanimously ruled in Brown v. Board of Education that segregated schools were unconstitutional. Chief Justice Earl Warren read the 2,000-word opinion, which concluded that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. 1 year later, in Brown v. Board of Education 2, the High Court ordered lower federal courts to implement desegregation plans with all deliberate speed. And whereas 60 years ago this month in 1961, 13 African-American first graders took courageous steps to enter 4 formerly all-white elementary schools and break the practice of segregation in Memphis City Schools. And whereas the 13 first grade students who bravely entered the doors of Bruce, Gordon, Roselle, and Springdale Elementary Schools were Sheila Malone, Conway, E.C. Freeman Fentress, Alvin Freeman, Deborah Holt, Joanya Kyles, Sharon Malone, Pamela Mays, Jacqueline Moore, Joyce Bell White, Leandrew Wiggins, Clarence Williams, Harry Williams, and Michael Willis. And whereas at a time when the nation was witnessing widespread segregation and animosity towards African Americans who desired equal opportunities, these young civil rights leaders and their families made a choice to take a step towards equality for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we honor those courageous individuals, the Memphis 13, who integrated public schools 60 years ago, and applaud their efforts on behalf of equality for all.
Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm going to ask that the members would close your eyes. Close your eyes. Take yourself back to when you were 6 years old, 7 years old, and get into your feelings at that age. And then imagine leaving all of your friends that you were used to, the comfort and convenience that comes with that circle, that sphere of friendship, and placed into a situation with other individuals, other little children, where most of them do not want you there. I want you to close your eyes and visualize these 13 as little children starting the first day of school, which should have been a great adventure with anticipation of all of the wonders that come with starting your formal education. New friends. Will I like the teacher? What's it going to be for lunch? What do I do after school? Open your eyes and behold members and family members of the Memphis 13 who did not have the benefit of that innocent first day of school. I will not try to relay to you their feelings. I'm going to ask, Mr. Speaker, that Dewana Cowles, and some of you would recognize her. She's one of the children of Samuel Billy Cowles, who certainly played his own role in human rights and civil rights, not only in Tennessee, but nationally and internationally. I would ask, Mr. Speaker, that you recognize Dewana Cowles to speak on behalf of the 13.
Thank you so much from my heart, Representative
Sure,
Hardaway.
everyone.
I just wanted to say thank you. On behalf of the Memphis 13, we are honored, we are happy to be here to share in this momentous occasion with you all in this joint resolution. And I prepared something to say, but you know, when you're reading all the time, so I might read some, but when you're reading all the time, you can't make that connection, that eye connection. And while I want to read, I really want to make the connection, and I want to make the heart connection because Representative Hardaway said something that was very important, that we can make laws and keep making laws, but if we're not changing our hearts as it relates to the laws that we are making, we are going to repeat the same thing over and over again. One of the things that I can say about the Memphis 13 alum is when we share our story, we share it from the heart. And in sharing that story from our hearts, we are not only helping to heal our scars, but everyone was involved in desegregation before 1961. We all were. It affected all of our lives, the whole country. So to have us here for a joint resolution for both sides, that means the world to us because that means we opened our hearts and chose, and that's a decision that we get to make, and chose to say, yes, we're going to acknowledge this. And then by acknowledging this for us, it says we honor and validate and celebrate what you all did as 5- and 6-year-old children when your innocence was relatively ripped from you. So we are not wanting to tell our stories to cause harm. We believe that through our story, we can help crack open hearts so that we all can choose to make better decisions and become more humane to each other and kind and understand what empathy is and learn to listen to each other's stories and embrace those stories because we are what our stories are. So thank you for having us here today and allowing us to feel good about moving forward with telling that story and sharing our stories and hoping that our listeners walk away with an open heart. Thank you very much. I'm going to end with a quote from Martin Luther King. Everyone can be great because everyone can serve. All you need is a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, this is the occasion where I want, if you would be so kind as to allow each, we have 5 members who are here. We have members who are deceased, but we have 5 members who are here with us, and we have family members. Mr. Speaker, if we would just have those 5 to introduce themselves. It's a connection that I want you to make with who it was that allowed us to get past that 1954 decision, the pushback on Brown versus Board, to make it a reality in the city of Memphis schools. So, Dewana, if you would call them up, please. Mr. Speaker, would you recognize Ms. Cowles again?
Yes, recognized.
Introductions.
So Sheila, do you want them to come speak, or I'm just going to introduce them?
Just let them introduce themselves.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Sheila Malone Conway. I attended Gordon Elementary. Hi, I'm Sharon Malone, and I attended Gordon Elementary. And Sheila and I are twins. It was only supposed to be 12, but my mother said you can't take one of my babies without taking the other. So that's how I became the Memphis 13.
My name is Alvin Freeman with the Gordon Elementary.
My name is Harry Williams. I attended Bruce Elementary.
My name is Sarah William, and I'm speaking for Romanita Morris, and I'm the booster behind Harry Williams.
Thank you, ma'am. Just one comment, and this is a quote from G.A. Hardaway, that what you're looking here is representative of what my thoughts are every time I walk through those chambers, every time that I speak to one of my constituents, every time I gather with one of my caucuses, whether it's Black Caucus or Democratic Caucus, on those rare occasions when I show up at a Republican caucus meeting. And that's simply that the greatness of America is rooted in the goodness of its people. The greatness of America is rooted in the goodness of its people. And like the one, I'll end with a quote from Dr. King, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. However, it's those tiny hands, small feet, but big hearts in the Memphis 13 that gripped that arc. These arc benders deserve our appreciation, our acknowledgement, and the honor that we bestow upon them today. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that you come down and join us for a picture with the Memphis 13. I would also ask leadership on both sides of the aisle to join us.
Representative Manis, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request that the Sergeant at Arms escort our guest into the chamber, please.
Mr. Sergeant of Arms, please escort the guests to the well. Representative Manis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request that the clerk read the resolution, please.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Joint Resolution 841 by Representative Manis, a resolution to recognize and honor Knoxville Police Chief Eve Thomas on the occasion of her retirement. Whereas it is appropriate that the members of this General Assembly should honor those citizens who have performed the uncommon devotion and enthusiasm throughout their careers in law enforcement. And whereas Chief Eve Thomas of Knoxville Police Department is one such estimable individual who has devoted her life to the preservation of law and order and the protection of her fellow citizens. And whereas Chief Thomas was the first female police chief in the department history and also the first female to serve as chief in any metro area in Tennessee, she will be taking her much deserved retirement on May 1st, 2022, after nearly 30 years of service. And whereas Eve Thomas was named chief of police in 2018, and since that time, she has led the Knoxville Police Department in hiring and recruitment, marketing firm, and restructuring recruitment efforts, deploying body-worn cameras, and launching the co-responder program, a first among Tennessee law enforcement agencies. She also expanded the resources available for KPD officers and professional staff with the implementation of the Employee Wellness Program. And whereas Chief Thomas has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and a master's degree from Long Island University's Homeland Security Master's Institute. And whereas Chief Eve Thomas has developed lesson plans for courses in community and problem-oriented policing, accreditation, officer safety for women, and traffic accident investigations, and has served as a police driving instructor as needed. And whereas her many professional accomplishments aside, Chief Eve Thomas is grateful for the love and support of her husband of more than 30 years, Carl, and their two sons. And whereas throughout her estimable career, Chief Thomas has demonstrated the utmost professionalism, ability, and integrity, winning the sincere respect and admiration of her colleagues, her fellow officers, and a grateful public. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we honor and commend Chief Eve Thomas upon the occasion of her retirement, extending our gratitude for her more than 3 decades of dedicated service to the Knoxville Police Department and the residents of Knox County, and our best wishes for success in all our future endeavors.
Representative Manis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was coming up here, somebody said, Eddie, you better be ready because you're going to have to outdo a K9 and G.A. Hardaway. And so I don't know how I can outdo either one of those, but I can tell you Chief Thomas is right up there with K9s and G.A. Hardaway. So let me just take a moment to introduce the guest this morning with us. On the end there is Scott Erland. He is the communication manager for Knoxville Police Department. And also here with us is Mark Fortner, who is the assistant chief for the Knoxville Police Department. I can speak firsthand with the qualifications and the integrity that Chief Thomas serves with. I had the opportunity when I served as chief operating officer for the city of Knoxville to work side by side with her. And I've said many times, there's one job I would never want to have in my lifetime, and that would be the chief of police for any city or any municipality. But she has done it with integrity and sincerity and dedication to the people of the city of Knoxville. Yeah, she is an amazing lady. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask if Chief Thomas could say a few words, please.
Chief, you are recognized.
Wow. Thank you, Representative Manis. I so appreciate this opportunity and being recognized. It's more humbling than I can describe. And, you know, I have to say, through my tenure, especially as chief, I appreciate you and your support and the support of the legislature here, because we need that support and we get that from you all. I so appreciate that. And it's just like the support of the folks in my department. It's not me that makes it run. It's those folks and you all. and the people who support us. So again, it's just so humbling, and I so appreciate being recognized, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Representative Manis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I may ask the members, any additional members of the Knox County delegation, the Blount County delegation, whoever wants to join us here in the well. And Mr. Speaker, if you would also join us, I would be grateful.
Welcoming and honoring Representative, I think, Darby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce one of the best administrator of elections in the state, and we get to call him home from Weakley County. And he's accompanied with Jeremiah, Lydia, Anna Kurt, and a family friend, and Zoe Tipton. And our Minister of Elections, his name is Alex Britt.
Representative Wright. Over at Representative Carr's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Standing on the other side of the room just at the moment, but here on Representative Dale Carr's desk is a Dale Carr Get Well card. If you would please come by Dale Carr's desk and sign the card. This may get him back on the floor earlier. So, wait a minute, I've got that backwards. If you'll sign the card, maybe he won't come back. No, I'm just joking. Please sign Dale Carr's Get Well card. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Deborah Moody and I would like to welcome my nephew, Billy Driggers, in the back. He's my oldest nephew, and he just happens to be Chair Lady Moody's constituent, and she's also wanting to welcome him.
Yes. Billy Driggers is an excellent girls softball coach. He coached my daughter in the 9 and 10-year-old age bracket. We won state and we went to the World Series. Unfortunately, we came in second, but that was a trip and a summer of a lifetime. So thank you, Billy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members in the back, I have a guest today. This is my buddy, Kenny Cody. He is the Cott County GOP chair. He's an author, writes for all kind of major publications, and been my political sidekick for years. Y'all make him welcome, please.
Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a market in my district that is owned and run by immigrants who were Ukrainian. and I stopped by and purchased Ukrainian candies. And I want to invite all the members to please stop by my desk and treat yourself to Ukrainian candy. And let's continue to support the Ukrainian people. And hopefully my seatmate doesn't eat them all before you get up here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 18 years ago at 4:30 in the morning, my wife, after 21 hours of labor, gave birth to my son, Jackson. So Jackson, if you can hear me, you should be in school. I really don't care if you're not. Have a happy 18th birthday, and thank God my wife is as strong of a woman as she is. So happy birthday, Jackson.
Representative Hall. Representative Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got a group of Cleveland State students that got up at 4 a.m. this morning to be with us. I would like to give them a special welcome, and also Miss Amanda Charlesworth, all the way from Bradley County, is with us today. Could we make them feel welcome, please?
Representative Ramsey. Or Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to announce and honor one of our employees in information technology, Bob Treesize. Yesterday was his last day. He spent 29 years with us as a deputy director. We appreciate him very much and look forward to honoring him later. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further welcome and honor? Representative Wendell.
Mr. Speaker and members, Kelly Taylor Keesley and I would like to welcome a group from the Mount Zion Christian School to my right in the gallery. Please wave to us. And also their teacher, Ethan Daniel. We're glad to have them today and look forward to our tour. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I've got one. Tomorrow is Representative Chisholm's birthday. Let's wish him an early happy birthday. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction to resolutions.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Rule number 17 and placed on the consent calendar, refer to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all Senate joint resolutions congratulatory and memorializing line on the desk be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of bills.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that House Bills 2,896 through 2,900 be introduced and passed on first consideration.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on first consideration.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that Senate Bills 1,378, 1,671, 1,673, 1,682, 1,756, 1,801, 1,812, 1,882, 1,931, 1,940, 1,947, 1,995, 2008, 2015, 2,289, 2,314, 2,353, 2,403, 2,417, 2,429, 2,448, 2,512, 2,515, 2,553, 2,572, 2,592, 2,616, 2,704, and 2,749, transmitted by the Senate, be held on the desk pending third consideration to their companion House bills.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on second consideration. House bills on second consideration.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that House Bills 2,895 be passed on second consideration and be held on the desk, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Petitions and memorials, reports from standing committees, reports from select committees, calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chairman Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar on third and final consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Gentleman moves passage of the consent calendar, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any objections been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Seeing none. We are voting on the consent calendar. All members in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Hicks, aye. Sapicki, aye. Farmer, aye. Russell, aye. Clemens, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays.
Having received the constitutional majority, I declare the consent calendar passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a regular calendar.
Let the journal reflect Representative Harris excused. Call the first bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1392 by Representative Freeman and others relative to regulation of transportation services.
Representative Freeman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1392 on third and final consideration.
Representative Freeman moves passage properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Representative Freeman renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of House Bill 1392 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Zachary, aye. Ramsey, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 77, non nays, 3 present, unvoted.
House Bill 1392, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1697 by Representative Jernigan and others relative to retired law enforcement officers.
Representative Jernigan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1697 on third and final consideration.
Representative Jernigan moves passage properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Jernigan, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill will allow retired law enforcement officers who have a permit under the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, known as LEOSA, will allow them to direct and regulate traffic. And with that explanation, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Representative Jernigan renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of House Bill 1697 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Ramsey, aye. Crawford, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
House Bill 1697, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Let the journal reflect Representative Lamar is excused. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1904 by Chairman Faison and others relative to boilers.
Chairman Faison, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1904 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Faison moves passage. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call the first amendment.
House Amendment 1 by Chairman Faison, Mr. Speaker, was timely filed.
Representative Faison, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Faison, you are recognized.
I renew my motion.
Chairman Faison renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Any objection to the question? Seeing none. We are voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1904 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change your vote? Freeman, aye. Ramsey, aye. Doggett, aye. Crawford, aye. Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays.
House Bill 1904, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Let the journal reflect Representative Whitson is excused. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 2128 by Chairman Crawford and others relative to election integrity.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 2128 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Crawford moves passage, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bill 2128 is a bill that we brought this year. This is a practice that we do, but it's not been codified in law. And what it does is it basically says you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote in any local, state, or federal election. My motion.
Chairman Crawford renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You were looking a bit surprised that I had my hand
We had
raised.
dueling hands going.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Sponsor, thank you for bringing this legislation. And I want every member of the Republican Party in here to know that Democrats are for election security. I'll be voting for your bill, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Out of order. Any other further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of House Bill 2128, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Ramsey's aye. Doggett aye. Wright aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 92, no nays.
House Bill 2128, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed. I object to the motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1955 by Chairman Crawford relative to property taxes.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1955 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Crawford moves passage, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Crawford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill here, 1955, does the same thing for municipalities that we did a few years ago for our counties. And basically what it does is it gives them the authority on delinquent tax property that's been purchased. If they decide they want to sell that at a lower cost or give it away or whatever they want to do, then that gives them the ability to do so they can get it back on the tax rolls. I renew my motion.
Chairman Crawford renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of House Bill 1955, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
House Bill 1955, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed. I object to the motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1704 by Representative Vital relative to conflicts of interest. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Vital, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1758.
Representative Vital moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1758 without objection. So ordered. Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Tennessee Comptroller, I bring before you Senate Bill 1758 that addresses local government and conflict of interest. Thank you, Majority Leader. Last year, the General Assembly passed Public Chapter 472, which amended the conflict of interest provisions in the County Financial Management System of 1981 to monitor the general law. County government typically operates under three typical management statutes: the County Purchasing Act of 1957, the County Financial Management System of 1981, and the general law. The conflict of interest provisions in the County Purchasing Act of 1957 were not amended, and as a result are now inconsistent with the other two statutes. I renew my motion. This legislation makes the conflict. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I renew my motion.
Well, thank you. Can we get move passes on third and final consideration before we do that?
Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion. I move passage of this vital bill.
On third and final consideration.
Third and final reading.
Perfect. All right. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Thank you. Now you're recognized, Representative Vital, to renew your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I will renew my motion.
Very good. Representative Vital does, in fact, renew his motion. And I'm afraid to say this next line. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Calfee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Vitals, is this your first bill?
Representative Vital.
Obviously, yes.
Representative Calfee.
You know, I loaned you a can of Rosebud Save there a while ago, and it's good for rough elbows and chapped behinds. And depending on how hard they are on you, if you use it all, keep the can as a souvenir. But if you have some left, I'd like to have it back because I've got 2 more months here and I may need it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Vital.
Thank you. I have it here, sir.
That might be a prop. I don't know. Representative Vaughn.
Why, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Vital, I do appreciate the lecture on Tennessee history with regards to conflicts of interest. I do have a genuine interest in that law from 1957 that you said was inconsistent with the law from 1951. Gotcha. But, you know, folks, we're going to take it easy on him today. It's his first bill. And regardless of your experience level, you get a little bit nervous up there in the well. And I don't know that y'all realize this is a perfect example of how a true professional can become rattled. If you think about it, this man is an example of public service. He stepped away from a career, a very prominent career. Some might even say a Hall of Fame career, to join us here and to work on behalf of Hamilton County. And as a result, I've just got to pause for a moment and ask you if you could just deliver one of those catchphrases that you say during broadcasts. Could you tell me, could you repeat primetime player? Could you, or maybe diaper dandy? What? That's not Dick Vitale. That's just a dude from Hamilton County. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. Never mind. I thought we had a dignitary among us, but if it's just a guy from Hamilton County, sorry, I'll sit down now.
Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it is Greg Vital, like your vital signs or vital organs.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Vital, we understand that you work with bison or buffalo. What's the correct term for that?
Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Representative Vital. Yes, Representative Vital.
The correct term is the American bison, commonly known as buffalo.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you for the understanding of that. It's also known that the male buffalo are incredibly aggressive and they have to be kept behind a huge electric fence. Is that correct?
Representative Vital.
That is correct, but you do not agitate them.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in your professional opinion, you've been raising these for years. Do you ever get in the pen with them or you pretty much steer clear of being close to a bison?
Representative Vital.
I maintain my distance.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Vital, would you tell the members, is it easier to be here in the bullpen of the House or with the bullpen of the bison that you've been raising?
Representative Vital.
I'll take the fifth, but it's great to be here.
Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Vital, we are so thankful you've come. And I will just take a moment to remind y'all, he is filling shoes that are not possible to be filled. But he has come in and done a fabulous job. We're proud of you. You're doing well. You've handled your bill this morning somewhat precariously, but welcome to the House of Representatives, brother.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection? Hang on. I saw a hand in the back. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I may be out of order, but I would like to just thank Chairman Zachary, Chairman of Calendar and Rules, for the concern and the compassion that you showed Representative Vital when he didn't show up for his first bill in your committee. The leadership, Mr. Speaker, was unbelievable. He rolled him 6 spaces. 6 spaces later, he still wasn't there. So out of his concern, he rolled him 6 more spaces and he didn't show up. After 6 spaces, he was going to roll him to the next calendar, but Leader Lambreth, with his compassion, rolled him 6 spaces. And when he finally showed up, Chairman Crawford could see that he was not prepared and rolled him to the heel of the calendar. So I would like to thank all the members of the Calendar and Rules Committee for the leadership that you have shown Representative Vital.
Chairman Zachary, since your name was called.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Speaker Johnson, for bringing that up, because I think it's extremely important that we mentor and walk through our newer members. And I think that probably continues today. So, Mr. Speaker, without objection, I would ask that we roll this bill to the heel of the calendar.
I did not hear that. Representative Sapicki.
Mr. Speaker, I have some questions on this bill, and I'm going to follow up that with a motion to roll this to the heel, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Sexton of Granger.
Representative Vital, most people don't know this, but he is my office mate. He's right next to me. We've had many conversations, and I've enjoyed this. And I know it's been a tough day for you. I don't know if I've told you that I was a pastor and I give spiritual advice and guidance. I've helped a lot of these heathens around here. So feel free after session. I don't charge.
Representative Vital.
I'll take that under advisement.
Representative Marsh.
Mr. Speaker, I move previous question.
Previous question's been called. Any objection? Seeing none. All right. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1758, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bill 1758, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Joint Resolution 856 by Representative Grills, a resolution to recognize Mission America Foundation.
Representative Grills, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for adoption of HJR 0856.
Representative Grills moves adoption, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Grills, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to reconsider our action about adding all those voting in the affirmative as co-prime sponsors.
You've heard the motion. Any objection? Without objection, so ordered. Representative Grills.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move to withdraw that motion.
Yes. You've heard the motion. Any objection? Without objection, so ordered. Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every member in this chamber has a mother, a wife, or a daughter. And I have an incredibly wonderful wife and two precious daughters. And every day I remain vigilant to everything I can to protect them the best way I can. But unfortunately, we cannot protect the ones we love all the time. And sadly, there are real-life boogeymen out there. Some of these boogeymen kidnap and subjugate women into a living nightmare. Sex trafficking is a real danger. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported an 846% increase in child sex trafficking from 2010 to 2015. The average age of a girl lured and forced into sex trafficking is just 15 years old. The brave men and women who work with the Mission America Foundation fight against this evil on a daily basis. And I would personally like to thank them for all of the work that they do, fighting against this evil on a daily basis. So thank you, Mission America, for standing in the gap and rescuing these women from a life of misery. Right up here to my right is the man who does this. He saved several women. Thank you, God bless you, and thank you for all you do. I renew my motion, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Grills renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? See none. All those in favor of House Joint Resolution 856, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Sexton, Granger, aye. Crawford, aye. Rudd, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 83, one nay.
House Joint Resolution 856, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the regular calendar.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a message calendar.
Call up first message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1195 by Representative Garrett and others relevant to insurance, health, and accident. Mr. Speaker, on February 24, 2022, the Senate substituted House Bill 1195 for Senate Bill 1248, adopted Amendment 2, and passed House Bill 1195 as amended.
Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It pains me, but I move to concur with Senate Amendment number 2.
Representative Garrett moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 2, properly seconded. Any discussion? Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Chairman Garrett, if you can just explain to us what we're concurring to.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This was a bill that we passed last session. The Senate just didn't get to it. It was my insurance transparency bill, where if you have they ask your insurance company asks for more information, they have to copy you. There was a typo in how we defined health facility. We changed it to healthcare facility. That's the only difference in the bill from the Senate.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 2, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 91, no nays.
Senate Amendment number 2, having received the constitutional majority, I hereby declare it concurred in without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1362 by Representative Garrett, relative to probate law. Mr. Speaker, on February 24, 2022, the Senate substituted House Bill 1362 for Senate Bill 888, adopted Amendment 1, and passed House Bill 1362 as amended.
Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As again, I am pained to say I move to concur to Senate Amendment Number 1.
Representative Garrett being paid twice today moves to concur in Senate Amendment Number 1, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could you explain to us how it came back from the Senate, please?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sure. This was actually Judge Carter's bill, and unfortunately, he couldn't carry this bill through last session. It was the small probate, small affidavit bill where we give letters of authority to somewhat formalize that process. The only thing that the Senate removed was the liability for the clerk to give legal advice. That doesn't really exist. There was no reason for that to be in the legislation, so that amendment was removed. I concurred. I'm okay with that, and so that's why we're concurring with this amendment.
Representative Beck.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment Number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Grills aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 92, no nays.
Senate Amendment Number 1, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it concurred in. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the message calendar.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. We have a few. Representative Keene.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw House Bill 2105 and House Bill 2566 from the committee and House.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw House Bill 2781 from the committee and the House.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Representative Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to withdraw House Bill 1542, 1545, and 1546 from the committee and the House.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Representative Cassidy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm making this motion on behalf of Chairman Whitson, who had to leave, but this is his constituent that we're doing this for. And with the approval of leadership, both Democrats and Republican side, I move to suspend the rules for the immediate consideration of SJR 1174.
Mr. Clerk, please read the caption.
Senate Joint Resolution 1174 by Representative Casta and Whitson, a resolution to honor the memory of Blake Mevis of Nashville.
You've heard the caption. Are there any objections? Without objection, the rules are suspended. Representative Cassidy.
Mr. Speaker, I move to concur in Senate Joint Resolution 1174.
Representative Cassidy moves to concur in Senate Joint Resolution 1174, properly seconded. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. I declare it concurred in. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it's that time of year that committees are closing down. I have several procedural motions that I have discussed with the minority leader, and the clerk has discussed with the chairman. This is just to put those bills in the posture for consideration. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move that House Bill 2108 be heard in the Government Operations Committee next week.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House Bill 1439 be heard in the Business and Utilities Subcommittee next week.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House Bills 1899, 1901, 2365, 2388, 2568, 2822, 2138, 2139, and 1900 be heard in the Education Administration Committee next week.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House Bill 2651 be heard in the K through 12 Subcommittee next week.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House Bill 2554 be heard in the Civil Justice Subcommittee next week.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the rules be suspended for purpose of allowing the sponsor of House Bill 1386 to appeal to the Speaker to re-refer legislation to committee.
You've heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Announcements.
Announcements. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my colleague did, allude to the fact that it's that time of year again. And so I'm calling for a quick meeting of the Seersucker Caucus at the well immediately after session. It's that time again. Well, it's time to start planning. Hey, Mr. Speaker, please rule him out of order, please. Thank you. But we'll just have a quick meeting at the well as soon as the session is over with. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Rudd at Chairman Fazen's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to announce, members, the final calendar of the House Elections and Campaign Finance Subcommittee will be heard Wednesday, March 23rd. The deadline to put bills on notice will be Wednesday, March 16th at 3:30. Thank you.
Representative Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise again to say, please sign the Dale Carr Get Well card.
Thank you. Representative Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the final calendar of the House Property and Planning Subcommittee will be heard Tuesday, March the 15th. The deadline to put your bills on notice will be next Wednesday, March the 9th at 3:30. If you'd like to have your bill heard in this committee, thank you.
Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The announcement that you've all been waiting for, we will begin to take appropriation amendments in my office, Suite 622. Beginning today, you'll have until Monday, March 14th at 5 p.m. to get those in. My office is, as we speak, providing each member with all of the necessary documents and the instructions on filing the amendments, and we'll also be distributing that to you by email. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee's final calendar will be heard on Tuesday, March 15th. The last chance to put your bills on notice will be Wednesday, March 9th by 3:30 p.m. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the final calendar for Transportation Sub is Tuesday. Please put your bills on notice by noon on Monday.
Representative Wendell.
Mr. Speaker and members, the final calendar for the House Naming and Designating Committee will be Tuesday, March 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to remind everyone in here that March the 22nd will be our Ag Day. So make sure you keep a few hours off to maybe run down there and have some lunch and chase a chicken or saw a log, but have a good time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the Tennessee State Fire Marshal's Office 2021 Annual Report on Blasting Fines in Tennessee has been filed with the clerk's office and is available for review by any member who wishes to do so.
Thank you. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call.
Roll call. Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 91 members present.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
That completes the regular order, Mr.
Leader
Speaker.
Gant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until 5 p.m. on Monday, March 7th, 2022.
Without objection, the House stands in recess till 5 p.m. on Monday, March 7th, 2022.